Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. I'm Mrs. Chan and also Mr. Sazmi and all the audience. So my name is Rosa Sabila binti Wahani, your moderator for today's event with Muhammad Al-Hikmat as your timekeeper for today's presentation session. Before we start, I would like to read the rules and regulations that need to be complied during the whole event. Number one, the time allotted for the presentation session is 50 minutes. And then number two, the time allotted for the question and answer session is 5 minutes only and starts when the presenter starts responding. Number three, the panel can only start asking questions when the presentation session has ended. The bell will be rung once in the 10th minute of presentation and twice in the 15 minutes of presentation, marking the end, and the question and answer session will begin. Number five, questions from the panels or assessors should be considered over other panels. And then number six, the moderator reserves to stop the presenting from participant or assessor during the question and answer session if it is found to have exceeded the stipulated time period. Now, let's start the ceremony with the first presenter, Nasuha binti Alias, from Lesson 5 to present the presentation. Please.
From PISMP June 2018 intake, and my supervisor is Dr. Sakiyah binti Ibrahim. So today I would like to present my thesis, which entitled PISMP June 2018 Lesson Teacher Training's Perceptions Towards Social Media Usage in Enhancing English Vocabulary. So for the background of the study, vocabulary is a crucial skill for teaching and learning a foreign language. So vocabulary is the foundation for the development of language abilities such as listening, speaking, reading, writing, as well as pronunciation. Previously, students or people acquire new vocabulary through reading materials such as books, magazines, and newspapers. However, due to the development of technology, people spend less time on the traditional materials but spend more time on the most significant development of technology, which is social media. So according to OSHARIF 2015, students in this global village are interconnected by using electronic devices such as personal computers and smartphones, and they at least have one social media. Based on Pew Report 2018, a total of 3.196 billion people are active social media users, and these users are aged from 13 to 24 years old, spend at least 3 hours 1 minute daily. And this report shows how significant connections between the youngsters and social media. And in social media, the English has been widely used in this platform because English is one of the international language and it can reach out to more people. So the excessive use of English language in this platform enables second language learners to practice the language and explore a wide range of information for learning, sharing, entertainment, and enjoyment. Okay, now we're moving on to the segment of problems. So through meaningful reading, people will gain a wide range of vocabulary. However, according to Siti Normala Muhammad, students nowadays have no interest in reading, and this leads them to have a limited English vocabulary. And this poor reading attitude will negatively impact their academic performance. According to Zawiyah Ghazali and Hadina Habil, students did not perform well in wet reading tests because their vocabulary level is below than the vocabulary level used in the wet reading text. They didn't able to understand and answer the text correctly because their poor vocabulary level. So according to research by the American Psychological Association in 2016, it shows that 80% of university students spend at least 2 hours every day online and less time with other reading materials. And they also highly consider social media as a platform for entertainment and daily communications, a source of information, and even vocabulary learning medium. So this is why I want to study whether or not social media may contribute to teacher training English vocabulary enhancement. This is the purpose of the study. So this study aims to identify PISMP 2018 lesson teacher training perceptions of social media usage to enhance English vocabulary, to find out the most contributing social media platforms toward English vocabulary enhancements, and to identify the difference in perceptions according to gender. So this is my research objective. I have three. The first one is to identify PISMP 2018 lesson teacher training perception towards social media usage to enhance English vocabulary. Now, second is to identify the most contributing social media applications toward English vocabulary enhancement. And the third one is to identify the difference in perceptions between male and female teacher trainees in using social media to enhance English vocabulary. So this is the research questions. The first one, what is teacher trainees' perceptions towards social media usage to enhance English vocabulary? Which social media applications contribute the most towards English vocabulary enhancement? And the third one is there a difference between male and female teacher trainees' perception in using social media to enhance English language? Now, this is my significance of research. So this research will benefit to the students, educators, and future researchers. As for the students, it will increase their awareness of the advantages of social media for language learning purposes, for the educational purposes. Second, it will also inspire the students, especially us as teacher trainees, to use this platform in our teaching career in the future. As for the educators, it will help them to gain understanding of the value of social media platform for educational and professional purposes. And the second one is it will help them to deliver practical lessons that can encourage students' participation by integrating the social media into their teaching and learning process. And as a future researcher, they will be able to know more about the relationship between social media and English vocabulary. This is my related past research. Okay, the first one is a research conducted by Ali Eraslan 2019. It is entitled Instagram as an Education Platform for EFL Learners. So the respondents for this research are the English Department University students in Turkey. And the first research is focusing to study the impact of Instagram for language learning purposes, and to study the students' experience in using Instagram for language learning purposes. So the findings for the first research shows that Instagram has been part of the students' daily activities, and language learning through Instagram had to remove the mental block and had the students to uplift students' participation in the classroom, especially in terms of expressing opinion. Moving on to the next past research is conducted by Risma Galuh 2020 on students' perception toward the use of TikTok in learning English vocabulary. So, based on the finding, it shows that TikTok can positively influence students' vocabulary development by watching and creating English material and content. As for the third past research, it is conducted by Zahira Zainal and Nur Halim 2020. So this research is on social media and its influence on vocabulary and language learning. So the aim of this third research is to study whether or not social media can influence the vocabulary development among the private and public university students in Malaysia. So the findings shows that social media have helped the students to learn the language naturally, and it also assists them in the literacy development as the students able to engage with the language, and they also help them to master the vocabulary skills. Okay, moving on to the next one is my research design. So I have used one of the quantitative method, sorry for the title, which is survey. So survey, I use this method, this design, because It enables me to find out the opinions and to test the connections between the variables of a population by studying a sample of the population. Okay, this is the population and sample in this study. So the populations are 97 teacher trainees from PISMP June 2018 intake in IPG KDRI. And the populations involve 5 lesson classes from lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. As for the sample, there are 82 June 2018 intake teacher trainees, which consists of 19 males and 63 females. And for this sample, I have used whole population method. Okay, moving on to the next one is the instrument for data collection. So I have used the online questionnaire which I created in Google Form. So the online questionnaire is adapted from Instagram as an education platform for EFL learners by Adi Eraslan. So the adaptation has been made by changing the word Instagram to social media as in general, and by changing the language learning purposes to vocabulary enhancement among teacher trainees. Okay, and this questionnaire consists of 17 close-ended questions which are divided into 2 sections. Section A, demographic information, and section B, which focusing on the perception of the usage of social media to enhance English vocabulary. Okay, this is the data collection procedure. The first one, I submit the research proposal to the supervising lecturers, and then I adapt the questionnaire from Ali Eraslan, and then I submit the questionnaire to the supervisor to get her approval. After that, I conduct the pilot study. So the pilot study in this research consists of 15 respondents from the whole population. After that, I conduct the actual research by sending the link of my questionnaire to the respondents. So once the respondents have all answered the questions, I will transfer the data into statistical package for social science SPSS version 22 to be analyzed. But before I start analyzing the data, I clean the data first, and then I analyze the data using two data analysis method, which is descriptive statistic and inferential statistic. So descriptive statistic used to find the mean for research question 1 and the frequencies for research question 2. Meanwhile, inferential statistic used to answer the research question 3 by integrating the t-test to compare the mean between the gender. Okay, so this is the findings and discussion. I focus on the first research question first. For the first research question, the findings shows that teacher trainees have a positive perception toward the usage of social media in enhancing their English vocabulary. So as you can see here, the mean value for the 12 items are 4.27, and according to the mean has a high level of perception toward the usage of social media and enhancing their English vocabulary. So for this research question, most of the respondents agreed that social media had them to learn English vocabulary in a fun and stress-free environment, and it also allowed them to have the opportunities to interact in English and had them to develop vocabulary and master language skills. Okay, this is the second research question. The second research question is to find the most contributing social media applications that can help teacher training to improve their English vocabulary. So as you can see here, Instagram and TikTok got the highest number of frequency, which 33 for each of them. And for this question 2, it shows that most of the teacher trainees choose Instagram and TikTok as the most contributing social media that had them to improve their vocabulary. So they choose Instagram because of the sharing atmosphere. So the sharing atmosphere, they feel no pressure to opinions and to give comments or making mistakes on Instagram, because on Instagram no one judges their mistakes. Difference between male and female teachers perception towards the usage of social media in enhancing English vocabulary. So for the third research question, I have conducted a speed test, and the significance total value obtained was 0.47. So according to 2050, if the significant value is higher than the alpha value 0.05, then the statement is considered as non-significant. And the null hypothesis that has been made at the beginning of the study is accepted. Okay, this is the conclusions from my study. For objective 1, teacher trainees have a positive perception towards the usage of social media to enhance their English vocabulary. Objective 2, Instagram and TikTok are chosen as the most contributing social media applications to the English vocabulary enhancement. And for objective 3, there is no difference in perception between male and female teacher trainees in using social media to enhance English vocabulary. Okay, so these are the recommendations for the future researchers. The first one, future researchers can focus on TikTok and Instagram as the most contributing social media platform that can aid in developing English vocabulary. So they can conduct an interview to study in depth the benefits of TikTok and Instagram for the students. And the second one is to study the link between social media and other language skills such as listening, speaking, reading, writing, as well as grammar components. And last one is for the implications. So the implications for this study are for TESOL teacher trainees in Teacher Education Malaysia, which is teacher trainees. So the first one, teacher trainees will realize that social media is not a platform for entertainment only, but it also is a good platform to acquire, learn, practice English vocabulary effectively. And besides, it also helps the teacher trainees to find out the possible advantages offered for them in TikTok and Instagram to improve their English vocabulary. So a lot of features in TikTok and Instagram that can be explored, which can help them to improve their English vocabulary naturally. And as for the TESOL lecturers in Institute of Teacher Education, it will provide them with fresh ideas for creating exciting lessons for the students. They can incorporate the social media applications in the teaching and learning process, in the classroom activities, to attract students' attention and to create an engagement and a fun and interesting lessons. For the second one, it will also provide the insights for the lecturers regarding the importance of positive learning environment. So according to Ali Eraslan, positive learning environment refers to the comfortable situations where people can communicate, collaborate, and cooperate with each other. So positive learning environment is very important for the student because it can lower the affective filter, and it also will boost students' confidence to use English language with the other peoples. Okay, so I think that's all from me.
Thank you for your presentation. The ceremony will now continue with the question and answer session. So please welcome Mr. Chang and Mr. Sadli to ask any questions to the presenter.
Okay, first and foremost, congratulations to Mr. for your very brief presentation of your research. Yeah. Okay. I think you have done a very good preparation. Okay. Here I have one question, and I need some explanation from you regarding your sample. Okay. When I look at the topic, the title of your survey is PISMP June 2018, TESOL Teachers Training. So when it comes to this stage, I think the total of your TESOL should be 98, right? Excluded you become 97. But when I look at the sample that you use, why why you use 82? 82, that is my question, and it is called whole population method. Okay, can you please explain 82 candidates, 82 participants from the 97 population, but you still call it as whole population method? Okay.
Thank you for that question. So, for my sample, I have used a whole population method because according to Creswell, when the population size is small, then it is suggested for the researcher to use the whole population, which is whole population method. And for this study, the samples are 82 because from 97 of the whole population, 15 students have been selected as the pilot study, and the rest 82 are chosen as the sample. My pilot study is 15, and plus with the 82 samples, then the total is 97.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Welcome.
Can I ask question to Miss Nasuha? I will ask in bahasa Melayu because I will be right. Okay, satu saya nak tanya kepada Miss Nasuha. Di sana dalam abstrak awak ada mengatakan bahawa awak mengutarakan mengandungi consisting of 70 items. Okay, so daripada 70 items we can see the question in here. So saya nak tahu dah bagaimana apakah question yang ditanya itu menggambarkan persepsi kepada peningkatan penggunaan vokabulari bahasa Inggeris kepada pelajar pada, sedangkan bila saya melihat kepada secara keseluruhan TikTok ni, jadi TikTok ni benda yang menggunakan rubbish punya bahasa kan. Jadi macam mana Miss Nasra mengatakan bahawa persepsi pelajar-pelajar ini metabolisme analisis vokabulari.
So since this study, thank you for the question, sir. So since this study is focusing on the perceptions of teacher trainees regarding the English vocabulary and English vocabulary enhancement. So the question that I have asked, for example, do social media have you to improve English vocabulary? For example, social media have improved your English vocabulary. You feel no pressure when you use social media. And you are comfortable when you interacting with other people on social media. And social media help you to learn vocabulary easily. Social media help you to learn vocabulary in a fun and engaging way. So that are the example of the question. If I want to study their opinion, what they think of the social media. So that are the example of the questions. And I add as for the TikTok. Okay, I also didn't know before, but nowadays, previously I also thought that TikTok is just for the dancing videos and whatsoever. But after I conduct this study, I able to know that TikTok nowadays have a lot of English material content. There are a lot of search. For example, there is one teacher from Kelantan that always upload content, English material content. For example, he teach about the Sir Asai. His account is Sir Asai. He always upload the content to teach the students about the vocabulary, about the how to pronounce a certain things, how to like speak in English fluently and all. So there are also hashtags in TikTok which is learn English in TikTok, I think. So when we click on the hashtag, we can explore or learn English on TikTok in a fun. I think it's fun because it has audios, it has videos, and it has like a lot of colorful words. So it's kind of fun nowadays. So I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, welcome the next presenter, Untitled Chapter from Class 5 to present her presentation. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. I'll speak to our panels today and my friends. So today I will present to you my research titled Using Minimals to Improve the Use of Comparative and Superlative Adjectives Among Year 4 Best Story Pupils. So before I move to the next part, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Ambilan. I'm from PISMP June 2018, Chapter 5, and my supervisor is Dr. Satya. So let's look at the first part, which is the background of study. So let's look at the background of the study. The first one is importance of grammar. Grammar is essential and has an equal role with other skills when it comes to language learning, meaning that grammar is essential as other skills in English language, such as listening, speaking, reading, and also writing. This is based on the research formed by Mike Kasimov and Mahmudov 2020. And then, according to Sumarinov 2018, grammar mistakes are one of the most common errors made by a great number of students, especially those who learn English as a second language, such as us, the learners for English as a second language. And then, in relation with these issues or problems, I have faced a problem with the Year 4 Best Story pupils, which is the students that I taught before during my previous practicum, whereby they also have faced problems in differentiating and identifying the rules and usage of comparative and superlative adjectives. Okay, so this one, I will focus on the simple comparative and superlative adjectives, whereby we add the use of er or the suffix of er and est at the end of the word. As an example, the word big for comparative adjective, we add suffix er, so it will become bigger. And for comparative superlative adjectives, for the word big, we add the suffix est and it will become the word biggest. So it is because of the pupils tend to misuse the analysis of grammar rules for comparative and superlative adjectives. So that's why pupils are actually having problems to differentiate the rules and usage of comparative and superlative adjectives. So next, let's look at the statement of the problem. So the first one, lack of vocabulary. So this will be focusing on the remedial students because some of them are still lacking vocabulary and they didn't know much of the meaning of the words that we use in English. So what happens when they are lack of vocabulary? It will affect pupils' understanding and ability to distinguish different degrees of adjectives, as pupils could not understand the meaning of the word itself. Okay, let's imagine you don't understand, we didn't understand the meaning of the words, and then suddenly we add the suffix and suffixes of er and est. Then it will add more confusion to the pupils on the meaning of the word itself. And then the second one, constructing sentences. This is for the advanced students, whereby they still have the confusion with the rules on constructing regular and irregular adjective phrases. Because as we know, we can see that for comparative and superlative adjectives, there are some different types of rules for comparative and superlative adjectives according to the syllable of the word. And mistakes in using comparative and superlative adjectives occur, and some pupils tend to generalize the rules. As I said before, some of the advanced students think that when they use comparative adjectives, an example, they just use the word er. But however, we can see that actually for the comparative adjectives, there are more than that. We can use the word more to explain about the comparative adjectives. And then, the perception towards English subject. I think this is the main problems here, because most of the pupils think that have the mindset that English is the most difficult and complicated subject compared to others. And these pupils will not be exposed to any English language friendly environment before. This is the main problem, because when I asked the pupils, they said that they hate English language subject. And it's like English language subject is like their lifetime enemy. That's what I can say when I observe the students. So we move on to the next one, which is the purpose of one syllable only, such as the word big, small, tall, and short. And then the next one is help teachers to grab people's attention in learning English language. Because in this intervention, I will use multiple characters, multiple animal characters, okay, colorful backgrounds to attract people's interest in learning English language. So for your information, in this study, I use animals for the students to compare and contrast the size and also the height of the animals. Okay. Next, research objectives. So the first research objective is to improve pupils' mastery on comparative and superlative adjectives using animals' interactive slides. And the second one is to attract pupils' interest in learning English via the use of animals' interactive slides. Research questions. The first one, does the use of animals' interactive slides improve pupils' mastery on comparative and superlative adjectives? And then the second question is, how does animals' interactive slides attract people's interest in learning English? So we move on to the significance of the research. So for the pupils, this research gives pupils information on their mastery and understanding level on comparative and superlative adjectives. Because when they know their weakness, they can actually improve their weakness, and at the end of the day, they can improve their grammar mastery. For teachers, it actually improves their teaching practice. As we can see in this, for this intervention, it provides teachers with the teaching aids, and also it can help them to attract pupils' interest when learning English itself. And with the use of this intervention, it can actually help teachers to evaluate pupils' understanding towards the lesson that have been taught to them. So this is the related past researches. So the first one from Santana 2019. Grammar mastery is important for all basic English language skills, including listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Because we can see that actually grammar is interrelated with these skills such as listening, speaking, reading, and writing. When a people or a person or any student can actually master listening, speaking, reading, and writing, they will eventually actually mastering grammar rules and grammar usage. Then, according to Hu and P 2016, main mistakes in using comparative and superlative adjectives is misusing analysis and synthesis of the adjectives. This is due to the fact that pupils will actually have problems in recognizing the rules of comparative and superlative adjectives, as they are confused and mixed with the formula for these adjectives. And then the third one, according to Muhammad Arif Hussein 2016, teachers should manipulate various techniques and strategies for their instruction to avoid the monotonous classroom environment. For this case, in this case, teacher can actually create a fun learning environment and use multiple strategies and methods to help them avoid the monotonous classroom environment. So, we move on to the population and sample. So, for this research, there are 3 pupils who have been chosen as the participant, which consists of 1 male and 2 females, and they are from year 4 Besari class from Sekolah Kebangsaan Bagan, which is the school that I have been before in this school previously. So why I choose these 3 pupils? Because of their level of understanding towards the lesson or towards the topic of comparative and superlative adjectives itself, and I also have done the discussion with the teacher, and the teacher herself has given me the names of these 3 pupils, so that that's the reason why I choose them as the participant of this study. Okay, so we move on to the instruments used for data collection. So for the instrument, I have 3 instruments, which is document analysis, observation, and also interview. So for the document analysis, I have worksheet, and it has been done through quizzes. For observation, I use students' behavior protocol and I've done it through Google Meet. And for the interview, I have semi-structured interview and also have done it through Google Meet. So this is the intervention. As you can see, for the first part of the intervention, their own avatar, because at the end of this intervention, they can actually have points when they are able to answer the questions. So these are some of the games and activities in their intervention. So this is the research procedure. So the first one is pre-intervention evaluation, whereby I give them worksheets through quizzes, and they need to answer the questions. Also, I pass the question through WhatsApp and Telegram, because for this study, I've done it 100% online, because during that time we are still in the COVID-19 pandemic, so everything is being done online. Next one is the intervention session. There are 3 parts for the intervention session, which is the presentation, whereby they learn rules, usage, and application of comparative and superlative adjectives. And then for the practice part, they will play games, answering multiple choice questions, and they will have cumulative points, meaning that whenever they are able to answer questions, they will receive points, and those who receive the most points at the end of the session will be the winner. And then the data collection, somewhat structured interview and observation. Somewhat structured interview was being done through the Google. And then the last one is post-intervention evaluation, whereby I also use quizzes as the post-test for the students. And then this research has been done in 2 cycles. So I use the Chemist and McTaggart method or McTaggart model. And there are some modification that has been done, whereby in between the first cycle and the second cycle of the study, I add some more games for pupils to practice the use of comparative and superlative adjectives. And this is the data collection procedures. So the first one is document analysis. I use worksheets for the pre and post intervention evaluation test. And then there are 15 questions for this worksheet, whereby they have 10 multiple choice questions and also 5 fill in the blank questions. And then for the observation, I use students' behavior protocol, and the observer, which is my colleague, will observe the students based on their behavior, responses, and also reaction. And then the last one, interview, is semi-structured interview, whereby I've done the group interview, but the students can actually answer the question individually, and the interview has been conducted in Malay language, so that they can understand and answer the questions easily. Next is data analysis procedures, whereby I use grammatic analysis. So the first step, I transcribe the data from the observation and from the interview that I have done with the pupils, and then generating the codes. I generate all the response from the pupils, either it's negative or positive response, and then review. In this part, I review all the codes and then put the themes for the codes. And then I've done the triangulation, whereby all of this method will be put in the triangulation, and I see the effectiveness. And that's only I can see the effectiveness of the intervention. So this is the data findings. So Diana, Lisa, and Firdaus is actually their pseudonyms, not the actual names, so don't worry. So this is the score that have been received by them. So the first one is for the pre-intervention. We can see that both of them got below than 10 marks, 9, 5, and 8 over 15. Then for the post-intervention one, Diana got 11 over 15, Lisa over 15, and Firdaus 9 over 15. And then post-intervention, 2 of them managed to get 15 over 15 full marks, and then Firdaus got 13 over 15 marks. Which is, I think, this shows the great performance by them when after they use the intervention. And then we move on to the data findings. I use triangulation as I said before. So the first one is document analysis, portraits understanding and interest. And then for observation, it portrays positive fraction, attitude, participation, attention, and also understanding. And interview, from interview, I can see that they express understanding, interest, and enjoyment. These are actually all the themes that I've analyzed based on the data itself. So we move on to the discussions. So these are actually the themes that I have analyzed. So we can see that from the discussions here, all of the themes portray understanding and interest from the students. As we can see, For interest, there are theme of enjoyment, direction, and attitude. So these are actually the response from the students. And then triangulation of data was achieved because we can see that they have the consistency. We can see the consistency of the data from the triangulation itself. And we can see that based on the triangulation itself, we have achieved the research objectives and answered the research questions, which is the first one to improve the use of comparative and superlative adjectives among year 4 P/SMP pupils, and also attract the interest in learning English based on the theme that have analyzed and been put in the triangulation method. So the conclusion, this intervention actually, the intervention used has successfully achieved the objectives and purpose of the research, because as you can see at the end of the day, at the end of the 2 cycle, we can actually, the research objectives has actually been achieved and the research question has also been answered. So, next one is the implications. The first one is this intervention aids students in learning comparative and superlative adjectives, because we can see that it acts as a teaching aid, and it helps them to learn comparative and superlative adjectives easily and in a fun way. And the next one is to improve other English skills such as writing and speaking, because when I taught them on this topic, they are actually not just learning on the comparative and superlative adjectives itself, but then they are learning on the sentence construction, because when I ask them questions, it will be like, cow is bigger than chicken. So that's the sentence structure that I taught them. And then the next one is help teachers in creating a fun and learning experience for students. As you can see, there are combination of animal characters, colorful backgrounds in this intervention. So, last one, for the recommendations. The first one is adding the use of tangible materials, physical activities, music, and sound effects. As what I've explained before, as this research or this study has been conducted fully online, so I didn't use any tangible materials. But after this, if I have a chance to do it again for face-to-face session, I can use tangible materials such as maybe animals miniature, and then add some more physical activities that include some movements, water pupils, and then music and sound effects. Sound effects, especially for the animals itself, because you can see I use animals characters, so I can add sound effects such as for the cow, for the chicken, I can add some more sound effects. And then interactive slides, which is the minimal slides, can also be used by teachers to teach other topics or lessons, because in this interactive slides, I include animal characters. So teacher can actually use this slide to explain or introduce pupils on the vocabulary, on the name of the animals, and also can teach them on the sentence structure. So I think
Thank you for your presentation. The ceremony will now continue with the question and answer session. Please welcome Mr. Chen and Mr. Sadri to ask any questions.
Welcome to Aimin for your presentation of your thesis today. By looking at the topic using the animals.
Animals stands for describing animals.
Okay, animals to improve the use of comparative and superlative adjectives. That means you have two things that you are going to help your pupils, right? Okay, from your post-intervention test, I noticed that there are 2 post-intervention tests. Okay, so I'm just wondering, did you have 2 interventions with your pupils? And what are the materials that you use when you carry out the intervention? Are they the same piece of intervention, or you have any kind of improvement or improvisation for your first intervention that maybe you felt it is not satisfied you from their post-intervention test 1? Alright? Are you clear with my question? Okay. Thank you.
So thank you, sir, for the question. So the first one, I used the same intervention, but then after the first cycle, I they are some based on their responses, they are still struggling on understanding how to form comparative and superlative adjectives, how to differentiate comparative and superlative adjectives. As well as explained before, this research focus on the simple comparative and superlative adjectives with the use of suffix er and est. So for comparative adjectives, big will become bigger, and then superlative adjectives, big will become bigger. So for the modification, I've done some modification for the second cycle, which I add some more games for their practice, and whereby they will play digital board games, and they will answer questions based on the number that they've got in the digital board games. So, and then after the second cycle, I found out that modification helps them to understand better on how to differentiate the comparative and superlative adjectives. So actually, I use the same intervention, but then I add some more modification for the second cycle of the intervention.
Okay, thank you. That is what I want to. That's what I want to hear from you. Okay, thank you. Okay, now, Mr. Sati.
Okay, soalan saya satu. Awak buat sekarang ni research action.
I should say this.
Dalam buat sekarang ni. Kita dalam buat sekarang ni. Di dalam research action, sorry. Kalau pertama yang kita buat, kita nak decide sama buat research action ni ataupun kajian yang satu kata pendidikan tu, bila saya lihat di sini bila awak pergi ke sekolah, tahun 4 lestari awak mengajar. Okay. Jadi bila awak mengajar, tahun 4 lestari awak akan dapat detect satu permasalahan dalam mengenai kata comparative dan circulative buat daerah pelajaran. Jadi di sini kita bila kita buat satu bagi satu soalan kepada pelajar-pelajar, maka dia akan jawab. Jadi kita akan dapati berapa orang yang gagal. Jadi berapa. Tapi di sini saya dapati, awak kata begitu, awak tanya cikgu lain bagi 3 orang kan? Betul tak? Ada 3 orang, ada 3 orang kan? Tapi berapa bilangan yang gagal? Patut bilangan yang gagal itulah kita buat intervensi kepada kajian tersebut pada nakkan kita bukan kita ambil blender 3 orang saja, tapi sampai yang gagal tu ada 10 orang yang kita ambil. Itulah permasalahan kita ketika kita membuat kajian action solution. Jadi itulah saya nampak, tapi bukan ada peranan daripada saya lihat tentang kali ini sebab saya dengar tadi tanya cikgu yang setuju bulat
Okay, so thank you sir for your comments. So what can I explain from this intervention is that when I give them question, yes, there are more than 3 people actually who can actually answer the questions correctly. But then when I have some discussion with the teacher, she herself has given me list of names. But then, because I've done this intervention during COVID-19 pandemic, some of them have actually no access using gadgets and internet. So these 3 people who actually have the access to these gadgets, who can actually participate with my intervention. And also, sir, as you said before, why only 3 pupils? I think 3 pupils is actually sufficient enough to actually support this study, to tell others, to tell the audience that yes, these pupils, your professional pupils actually have the problems in differentiating comparative and superlative. Thank you so much for the comments.
Thank you. Now please welcome the next presenter, Dr. Muhammad Nawawi from Lesson 5, Presentation. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning to everyone. So my name is Manawi from Class 5 PISMP Semester 8, and today I'll be presenting about my study entitled Investigating the Main Factor of Speaking Apprehension among PISMP TESOL Teacher Trainees, June 2018 intake in IBT KDRI. And this study has been constantly supervised by Dr. Satya Mehdi. So let me begin with the background of study. So in IPG, most classroom activities are conducted to set with activities that suit the real life situation as teachers. As teacher profession requires addressing large audiences every day, so teacher trainees should always participate in oral presentation and also undergo practical phases to practice their speaking skills. And during this type of activities, they should be able to communicate effectively, deliver instruction and also explanation to the audiences. However, most studies show that Malaysian undergraduates still struggle to communicate effectively despite having 11 years of English learning experience because of speaking apprehension. The speaking apprehension among second language learners is very common. It is defined by Horwitz, 1986, as the type of fear when communicating with others. And Nur Hani Muhammad, 2021, described an individual who has a high level of anxiety, will face difficulty in every activities that requires them to speak because they will suffer with nervousness. And this can be clearly seen through physiological symptoms such as shaky voice, stuttering, sweating, and many more. So how can speaking apprehension become a problem? So first one is it affects teacher trainees' participation in classroom activities. As I said earlier, most classroom activities revolve around communicative task-based, whereby teacher trainees should participate in oral presentation, group discussion, interviews, debate, and many more. So anxious learners will have tendency to withdraw themselves from the speaking task. And they might seem uninterested, unmotivated, and also reluctant to participate, contradicting to their attitude when engaging with reading or writing activities. And next one is it affects teacher trainees' abilities during practical phases. So in IPG, teacher trainees will undergo practical phases where they go to school and then teach assigned classroom. So for this practicum, their performance are measured based on their ability to deliver content, explanation, instruction, and also examples effectively. However, apprehension experienced by the teacher will greatly hamper the teaching and learning process, because when they're nervous, they tend to forget what they want to say or even construct sentence properly, and this will make them appear visibly less confident when teaching and then lead to confusion among the students. And the last one, and most importantly, is speaking apprehension affect teacher training score in web speaking test. As we all know, in the agreement, it is compulsory for teacher trainees to get band 5 in order to be posted in school soon. And to get band 5 during the speaking test, they should speak in a good coherency, fluency, pronunciation, and also grammar usage. And apprehension will lead to poor marks because when they are nervous, they tend to forget what they want to say and then unable to retrieve the word they want to use or even construct sentences poorly. And this will lead to poor marks for speaking tests. And evidence from a study by Yi Chu in 2019, only 25.9% from the whole sample of teacher trainees has achieved the minimum target of band 5. So these remarks give an impression to the society and also stakeholders that majority of teacher trainees still have a poor command of English and lack of expertise to teach English pupils. Next one. This is the purpose of the study, to find out the main factor of speaking apprehension among teacher trainees, June 2018 in RI and to identify the difference in speaking apprehension between male and female teacher trainees. So these are my research objectives. First one is to investigate the main factor of speaking apprehension among TESOL teacher trainees, June 2018 intake in IPTKRI, and to identify the difference in speaking apprehension between male and female teacher trainees. Next. So these are the research questions constructed based on the objective. First one is, what is the main factor of speaking apprehension among TESOL teacher trainees June 2018 intake in IPTKRI? And is there any difference in speaking apprehension between male and female teacher trainees? So the significance of this study, the study will benefit both teacher trainees and also educators. And for teacher trainees, the study provides information on the consequences of speaking apprehension and its possible reasons on why they struggle with this problem. So they will have the chance to self-evaluate or self-reflect on their mental state when speaking English, identify the problems and take necessary action to overcome it. And for educators, the study contributes to better understanding on the severity of speaking apprehension experienced by second language learner to show that this is very common. And it can also explain how it could affect students' performance so that educators or lecturers can re-evaluate their teaching strategies and identify the best teaching practices to cater students' needs. So population and sample for my study is, the population of the study consisted of 98 TESOL teacher trainees from June 2018 intake from 5 different classes. And as for sample, the study does not use any sampling method. Instead, I use the whole population method consisting of 82 teacher trainees from this batch. Why? Because Creswell 2018 says that it is more preferable to use everyone in the population as respondents if the number of population is small. The next is past research. First one is communication apprehension among students in UITM Kelantan by Wan Nur Fazliza in 2015. So the purpose of this study is to find out whether psychological and social cultural factors can cause communication apprehension among 51 ESL students in business and management faculty, and the findings indicated that both factors have detrimental effects on students' English oral performance. Because for psychological, they were reported to be nervous because of the irrational and unrealistic language beliefs they hold. For example, they believe that in order to be excellent, they should not be making any grammar or pronunciation errors, and they have to speak as fluent as native speakers. And from social cultural factors, the students were reported to feel fretful because of the power the audience has, the status. If they need to speak in front of well-accomplished people with higher status, this will increase the level of anxiety. And the next one is by Ambilan in 2019 on oral anxiety among students in UITM Terengganu. So the population of this study is 115 diploma students who are taking English subject. This subject, most of the evaluations are based on oral presentations. So the researcher wanted to know what are the causes of oral anxiety, and the findings show that there are several causes of oral anxiety, such as speaking ability, which is the limited vocabulary and also poor usage of grammar, and then personality traits, because most of the respondents are introvert. And then audience reaction and preparation. And last one is by Nurhani Rahman in 2021. This is the most recent one, entitled Speech Anxiety Among ESL Learners in UITM Shah Alam. So this was conducted on 44 students from undergraduate course, and the findings indicate that speech anxiety is caused by lack of confidence, audience reaction, and also personality traits. Next. Okay, so this is quantitative study. And I have employed survey research design to answer my research question and also to achieve my research objective. Why do I use written survey? Because Bilik 2012 believe that survey is the most appropriate method to use by researcher if the researcher wanted to know about opinion, perception, and also attitude of respondents. And since I'm focusing on learners' attitude during speaking activities, so survey it is. And then, so the instrument that will be used is questionnaire. So for research instrument, a set of questionnaire consisted of 18 items has been used for this study. So in 18 items, 2 items were assembled for demographic information on gender and also class, and 16 items were taken from 3 different researchers. First one is 10 items were taken by a study by G, because he used the communication apprehension framework, PRCA 24, that focused on oral presentations. And then 3 items similar to PRCA 24, also taken from a study by Razawi and friends in 2019. And last one, another 3 items were taken from Horwitz Foreign Language Classroom Anxiety Scale. And this is the data collection procedure. So first of all, I start by creating my questionnaire, and I search for the items for my questionnaire, and then I send the proposal along with the questionnaire to my supervisor, so she checked whether the questionnaire is suitable for my content. And then once she approved, I conducted a pilot study with 15 participants from TESOL 5, and then from the data of pilot study, I run for the reliability test to ensure its effectiveness. And the alpha Chromba value I obtained is 0.73, which is higher than 0.7 and considered as excellent based on George 2019. And lastly, I distributed the questionnaire to respondents. Data analysis procedure. Okay, so once I collected the data, I transferred the data into the SPSS software 26 version. Descriptive analysis was used to analyze the data of factors of speaking apprehension. The means were used to look at the main factor, and I used the mean score interpretation table binomially and firstly. And for impartial analysis, I did independent sample t-test for my second research question, where I wanted to know the difference between 2 groups, male and female. So for the data findings for my first research question is psychological was found as the main factor of speaking apprehension among TESOL teacher trainees, as its mean value is 3.65, significantly higher than situational 3.53. Next. So the mean value for all questions under psychological is also measured, interpreted, and recorded, and to be between 3.47 to 4.17, which were considered as medium high and high based on Nonelli and Berkeley. So I will explain the top 3 highest mean. Okay, first one is item 2 that shows with mean of 4.17. It shows respondents perceived oral presentation as hard because of their self-confidence, low self-confidence. And then number 2, with the mean of 4.01. Item 4, which indicates that teacher trainees felt embarrassed to do English oral presentations because they are aware of their speaking abilities, such as the pronunciation, their limited vocabularies, and also poor usage of grammar. And last one is item 7, where the mean of 3.58, which explains that teacher trainees felt nervous easily because of their timid nature, which was associated with their personality traits as introverted students. So data findings for RQ2. For this research question, the significance two-tailed value or the t-test result is 0.73, and this value indicates that there were no significant differences between male and female regarding speaking apprehension. So why do I say so? Because as we can see in the table, this value right here, 0.734, is higher than 0.05. And according to Andre's 2019, any value that is higher than 0.05 means that there was no significant difference and indicated strong evidence to support the null hypothesis. So as for conclusion, for my objective 1, psychological was found to be the main factor of speaking comprehension among PISMP test of teacher trainees June 2018 intake in IPG KDRI. And for objective 2, there were no significant differences in speaking apprehension between males and female teachers. As for implication, I have both for teacher trainees and also lecturers. First one, for teacher trainees, they should increase practice beforehand. Okay, so teacher trainees should prepare well before the actual presentation or activities. For example, this includes the research of the research of information related to the topic, also the organization of thoughts, speech delivery, and also self-evaluation. What I said by self-evaluation is that when they practice, they can also practice in front of people they are comfortable with and have them record so that they can identify what's lacking and then improve on it. Then next, teacher training can also make use of learning application and social media. There are numbers of useful learning apps that can help to improve speaking skills among teacher trainees, such as Lindy. Lindy is very unique because it's like a phone call. You just have to press the button and wait for someone to pick it up, and then you can start conversing in your desired language. And so social media, such as TikTok, there's one TikTok under the name Learning English with Zach. It's like a role play where we can stitch videos and then interact like that. And then for lecturers should incorporate group and pair work, because pair work and group work can actually create a less stressful environment because they can discuss and then help each other. Also conduct interesting activities. Speaking activities should be interesting. Instead of just conducting oral presentation, interview, and also debate, how about improvising with interesting ones, such as or have them watch movies and let them give opinion about maybe their favorite character and why they like the character. And last one is organized workshop. Most teacher trainees get easily nervous when presenting because of their lack of skills. So from a workshop, they will be exposed to skills that can be used for effective oral presentation, for example. Last one is recommendation. So with due to the limitation of my research, these are the suggestions for the future researchers. So first one is to investigate other factors of speaking apprehension, because this study is only limited to 2 factors, such as psychological and situational. So those who wanted to dive into the subject of speaking apprehension maybe can investigate other factors such as cognitive or social. And last one is conduct a study of speaking apprehension along with the strategies taken to alleviate negative feedback.
Thank you for your presentation. The ceremony will now continue with the competition and association. So please welcome Mr. Sazli to ask any questions.
Okay, well done, Najwa, for your presentation that you have done. Okay, when I look at your topic, investigating the main factor, at first I thought that there is an error of you didn't put S there. But here, after I listened to your presentation, then only I realized that the main factor is the psychological factor. So I think maybe you can put psychological factor as your main topic. Maybe lah. That is my suggestion. And one more thing, That one, okay, I give it to you. Okay. One more thing, what motivated you? What that motivated you and inspired you, to come up with this research as speaking apprehension?
Okay, so first question.
Your experience.
Based on my experience?
Yes.
Personal one. Okay, I wanted to explore about this topic because this topic is very closely related to me. I always experience apprehension or anxiety when I have to speak in front of people. So I wanted to know if others experience the same way, and also I wanted to know why. Why do we struggle with this?
Congratulations, after you have done this research, I found out you have already improved. Yeah? Really improved.
Thank you.
Saya jangan kata lah. Kalau tadi masalah ini bila orang katakan tadi melibatkan pesyarat orang, pesyarat kan. Maknanya apa yang saya tahu lah, biasanya aktiviti yang paling banyak sekali dilakukan oleh Jabatan Bahasa Inggeris untuk pelajar-pelajar. Jadi di sini saya takut nanti bila ditambahkan lagi dengan aktiviti, nanti pelajar yang sini keluar. Ada saya tahu sebab dia orang ada aplikasi education untuk lecturer tu, jadi awak nak aktiviti, bengkel, buat apa juga. Jadi takut nanti sedangkan yang saya tahu memang bahasa Inggeris ada yang paling banyak. Kalau tak buat hari ni tu awak buat. Sebab yang bahasa itu dia buat. Jadi tak takut nanti awak jadi mau membuat. Dan pengalaman saya lah, saya ada dengan seorang profesor di Indonesia. Dia mengatakan untuk nak bagi kita improve dalam bahasa Inggeris, nak kurangkan anxiety kita ni, kita kena berfikir dalam bahasa Inggeris dan kalau boleh bermimpi dalam bahasa Inggeris. Saya kata saya sampai saya ni nak boleh improve bahasa Inggeris, jangan kurangkan dan semua, sampai saya bermimpi pun saya cakap bahasa Inggeris. Mana tak cakap bahasa Inggeris. Jadi dia sampai dia boleh confident dengan bahasa Inggeris. Saya pengalaman apa yang saya dapat. Jadi di sana bagi saya awak kena bincang untuk syarah awak lah. Nak buat aktiviti apa nanti ada yang pergi pada awak balik awak kata pasti awak nak pula nak guna api. Itu saja dapat dengan saya dan persembahan.
Thank you.
Can we have 2 minutes break?
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 minutes, kan?
Nanti raya dah seronok. Nanti raya dah seronok. Kalau ada kita tak buat dalam presentation pun belum lagi lah. Wah, mesti busy. Oh. Exam lagi. Ada. Selepas intern dalam 2-3 minggu. Oh, darah apa tu? Dia kerja Ustaz lah. Dia grade sama.
Tapi ada jabatan ni, jabatan ni, jabatan buat lagi.
Wow. Dia memang nak push betul-betul lepas raya tu.
Tapi saya rasa tengok awak itu semua ni bersyarat untuk
Betul-betul. Banyak pengorbanan. Malam-malam pun tak kena Google Meet.
jumpa petang saja, petang pun kerja. Jadi orang tu ada petang itu macam
Itu weekend pun check.
Setiap kali weekend akan check.
sekolah kampung.
Kalau tak sempat yang ini, dia akan ke
Bandar.
Saya dah jauh. Escape penarik. Mana jauh. Orang lain dapat SKPG.
SKPG.
Jauh berbalik. Yang sekolah itu satu
Menarik.
lari di sebab Bali jalan ada rasa dekat tapi kalau sana pun Bali tak tahu
Mana naik bypass tu.
Naik bypass turun.
Dan kalau tengok
Itu sana dalam belakang.
dia letak mana, dari mana naik bypass.
Salah.
mana yang kampung tak ada.
Kita antara yang jauh ni.
Baik saya tak semoga bagi orang nak tengok masa cakap ni dia bagi bersama sekolah bagi dia pun tak timbang anak. Okey.
Now please welcome the next presenters, Mr. and Sultan Dua from the Tempat to present their presentation. Please welcome.
Okay, a very good morning to Mr. Chan and Mr. Hadi and also all my friends. So today I'm going to present about my thesis presentation, which is titled Using Spell Fun Interactive Slides to Improve Selected CFR Word Spelling Among Year 5 pupils. My name is Sashmita and I am from Tesla 5 PISMP June 2018 intake, and my whole thesis journey was supervised by Dr. Sakya. Okay, first off, let me start with the background of the study. So as we all know, in the English language, we have 4 main skills, which are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. However, vocabulary and spelling are also one of the key components which are vital for acquiring the English language. Alright, why do I say so? Because good vocabulary and accurate spelling are crucial for a person's language mastery, as it serves the purpose of understanding both spoken and written text. Okay. Ismail and Karima 2013 have said that the irregularity of the English alphabetic system, the ABCDs, whereby there is no correspondence between phoneme and letter, which makes it tough for language learners to achieve competency. For example, the letter E, when it puts in the word set, it's air. But when the letter E is used for the word elephant, it's air. So there is a difference, and there is no correspondence between the phoneme and the letter, which makes it harder for pupils to want to learn spelling. Also, spelling plays an important role in determining the accuracy of what is meant to be conveyed. For example, if a person spells one letter from a word wrong, it can change the whole meaning of the word. So, that's why spelling plays an important role in determining the meaning. And when we are reading as well, if a person doesn't know the spelling of the word, correct spelling, they will not be able to understand what the word or what the meaning of the word is. Next, the Common European Framework of References, or CEFR, was first implemented in the teaching of the English language in the year 2013 in Malaysia. Alright. For the CEFR, the year 5 PSKP clearly states that there is a list of CEFR A1 vocabulary. So at the very end of the PSKP, there's a list of words. Okay, these words are supposed to be learned by the pupils by the end of each year. And they do not need to learn these words by heart or to spell them with 100% accuracy. So they don't need to have it 100% correct spelling. But they just need to have the complete understanding of these words before they leave, before they end the whole schooling term. Okay, before year 5 ends, so they have to know this list of words. Okay. Okay, for my problem statement, for me, when I was teaching these pupils for my second practicum, I found out that they had fewer problems speaking the language, but was observed that when they came to writing exercises, they often make spelling mistakes. Okay, why do I say so? When I give them class and they ask them to turn on their microphone to speak in class, they can speak. It's okay. Even though they made minor mistakes, it was okay, they can speak. But when it comes to writing exercises, they often make mistakes, and even though the mistakes were corrected, okay, don't spell like this is the correct spelling, they often make the same mistakes again and again, fearing that it might cause fossilization in the pupil's writing. Alright, Altami and Abdul Rashid 2019 said that potential spelling errors could distort the meaning and comprehension of written material, making it incomprehensible. Like I said, if a person does not have good spelling, when they are trying to write something or read something, the meaning that they want to convey might not be accurately conveyed. So they might have problems in understanding the whole text, or when a person is reading another person's writing, if there are spelling mistakes, they cannot understand what the person is trying to tell them. Okay. Inadequate mastery of spelling would affect their overall understanding of the language and also accuracy of the language produced by them. But this mistake, when we are starting from a primary level, let's say we do not correct them at primary level, they will also be writing in SPM level English. And there'll be also, since English is used in many courses in university, if they don't have proper spelling, they will have difficulties when it comes to producing work in secondary school level and also university level. So it will give a long-term impact and not only a short-term impact, because English is one of the key languages that are used worldwide. Okay, lastly, as I mentioned before, CEFR was first introduced nationwide in the year 2013. And it aimed to produce pupils who are competent and competent in the English language. So they are expected to achieve at least A2 level. CEFR has 6 levels: A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, and C2. So by the end of year 6, pupils are expected to achieve at least A2 level, and that's why in the list, in the DSKP, there are a list of words that have to be learned or at least known by the pupils. And these are the words that I have chosen based on the DSKP to use in this intervention. Okay, so the purpose of this qualitative study or action research is to understand the use of interactive slides in improving the spelling of selected CFR words among Year 5 pupils. So I have two main research objectives. First one is to improve Year 5 UM's pupil spelling level of selected CFR words using spell fun interactive slides. And second one is to promote the interest in spelling selected CFR words using spell fun interactive slides among Year 5 UM pupils. Okay. So these are my research questions. How does the usage of spell fun interactive slides help to improve Year 5 UM spelling level of selected CFR words? And how does the usage of spell fun interactive slides help to promote Year 5 UM pupils' interest in spelling selected CFR words? Okay, for the significance of the research, I divided into two. First one is for pupils, second one is for teachers. So for the pupils, it enables pupils to know the importance of having good spelling in their writing and their reading. So like I mentioned, if a pupil doesn't have a good spelling mastery, it will be a long-term effect for them, which they will carry forward for a long time in their life. And also encourages pupils to use correct spellings to achieve accuracy and understanding in their writing and reading. As for teachers, it allows teachers to use a fun and meaningful approach or learning tool to teach word spelling with the element of games, audio, and pictures. What do I mean by games, audio, and pictures? I will explain later. So there are three main parts research which I have derived or read based on my study. The first one is titled ICT-based intervention for addressing spelling errors by Mahapatra and Mishra 2020. So in this study, they studied the spelling errors from their sample and they created an intervention using technology, using audios, computer games, computer flashcards, and also videos. So they carried out an action research using technology as well, and they found out that when technology was used in teaching spelling, the pupils were more motivated to learn, and their pupils took control of their learning. So they were like more student-centered when they used technology in their research, and it proved that students were more engaged in learning spelling. For the second one is by Tan and others 2019, which is titled Perspectives of Using Interactive Slides in Second Language Classroom Among Primary School English Language Teachers. So this one was a survey conducted to ask teachers' opinions. What do teachers think about using interactive slides in classroom? Teachers say that interactive slides that really make their lessons enjoyable and more fun, and pupils are more motivated to learn using interactive slides. For the third one, is titled Absolutely Brilliant, Can Technology Improve the Spelling Ability of Primary School Children by Bainbridge 2016. Bainbridge conducted action research whereby she wanted to know whether paper method or technology method could prove better results in teaching spelling. The findings showed that it doesn't matter which one used first. For example, she used two groups. So first group start with paper and second group start with technology, and then they will be given a test. And second group will be given technology and then paper. It found out that no matter what, the result proved that which method was used first was more efficient. But overall, the pupils said that they wanted to use technology because it was more fun and they could repeat the words even after they wanted to use it again. Alright, for my research participants, there are three participants. This is not their actual name, this is their pseudonym, not their actual name. So they are pupils of Year 5 UM and SK Sultan Yusuf Fatihah Jambira. They obtained low marks in the spelling diagnostic test and also pre-test for facts and years. For the diagnostic test, Aryan obtained 13, Putra obtained 14, and Iskandar obtained 9 marks out of 20. For their pre-test, Aryan obtained 4, Putra obtained 6, and Iskandar obtained 3 marks for their diagnostic test. and they are intermediate language learner proficiency pupils which have problems with the aspect of speaking and writing as I interviewed their teacher. Okay, this is my intervention, style fun, interactive slide. So in this intervention, there are 14 words which have been taken from the textbook and the DSKP. So the words used are also in the Year 5 textbook and also in the DSKP. From the A1 words list that I mentioned earlier, there are two games which are the multiple choice games, and this is the rearranging. There are three boxes here you can see. So they have to rearrange the words here. So for this intervention, they can click on the sound here to listen to the pronunciation of this word, and that's the meaning of this word here. And there's also a sample sentence to show what does this word mean. So this is my intervention. Okay, for my research procedure, it was conducted in 2 cycles. First one on 21st September and second one on 28th September. So for the first time, the intervention was presented in PowerPoint form, and the teacher asked each pupil to spell each of the 14 words. For example, when I show them this slide, I asked one pupil to spell this word first, then I will continue on the slide. And then for the practice, they had 2 games. During the first intervention cycle, they only had to rearrange the order of the letters games. But when I did my first cycle, I found out that their marks were not as engaging. And when I asked them for suggestions to what they want to know more in their interview session, they said they wanted another game. So I added the multiple choice question game for my second intervention cycle. And the last step was to do their posters and also collect their data via semi-structured interview. Okay, for my data collection procedures, it was document analysis, which is pre and post test, interview, which is semi-structured, and observation, which is students' behavior protocol. For the data analysis, I used teacher-made worksheets, whereby they were still in the Google Meet, and I gave them the link in the Meet, and they had to answer it while being in the Google Meet, so I can observe their progress. For the students' behavior protocol, I had my colleague to observe my my session, and then for my semi-structured interview protocol, there were a total of 7 questions, and it was conducted in the Malay language to make them feel more comfortable so that they can answer it easily. And this was all explained via semantic analysis, whereby I transcribe all the data first, and then I analyze the themes, and then finally I make triangulation of data. So the data findings and discussions, let's say that all participants managed to spell more than the correct words on target. I targeted 10 correct words from the end of cycle 2, but they managed to spell more than that. And they showed signs of interest and understanding by the end of the second cycle. For the observation, for the first cycle, two participants show lack of attention, attitude, and also participation. But the end of the second cycle, they all showed good attitude, participation, attention, and interest. As for the interview, for the first cycle, all of them said it was fun, enjoyable, but what lacked was they wanted more games. So that's why I added another game for my second cycle. And by the end, they all showed signs of interest, enjoyment, and understanding. And a triangulation of data was achieved because all the data correlated with each other, thus ensuring the validity of the data. So in conclusion, the research was successful because the research objectives were managed to be achieved, and the intervention managed to improve the research participants' spelling level. I will show the data after this, and ensure that they were interested in learning the CFR words. Okay, lastly, recommendations and suggestions. I would suggest to add more animation and music effects. My intervention only had used sound effects for when they did correct answers or wrong answers. So I suggest to add more background music to make it more lively. Second one, this intervention can also be used to teach vocabulary because the intervention has words, sample sentences, and also pronunciation audios in it already. So it can be utilized to modify teach vocabulary. And last one is addition of most post-lesson games because my intervention only has 2 games so far. And I got to know that people like to have more games in learning spelling. So they could add more games, maybe memory games or matching games. They can add that. So this is my data for their worksheet. So you can see that there are improvement from 4 for the pre-test, then post-test got 9, and lastly got full marks. And both participants got 13 out of 14. Even though he got 13 here, again because there was he said he made a careless mistake, so that's why the scores remain unchanged here. This is my student behavior protocols, semi-structured interviews.
Thank you for the presentation. The ceremony will now continue with the question and answer session. Please welcome Mr. Chan and Mr. Tanvi to ask any questions to the presenter.
Okay, thank you. Well done to your presentation, Sasmita. Okay, you have done a very awesome presentation. I think I don't have anything that I want to question. Yeah, about your research, about the reliability, the validity, everything you have already explained, fully explained. And just one thing, because when you carried out your research, as what you mentioned, it was during the MCO, right?
Yes.
Okay, so here I just want to know, did your research process went well as what you planned, or were there any unexpected circumstances that you had to deal with? That is what I want to hear.
If you want my honest answer, sir, I'll say there were many unexpected circumstances because we had to carry out during our second practical and the same time and carry out our AR intervention also. So when we were having our peak observations from lecturers, I also had to work on my intervention, ask parents permission, everything. So it was very clashing and very hectic for me. I had to sit down and cry a few times first, and then okay, I can do this, and then I had to do this. But at the end, when I got the pupils' marks and their parents were saying, "Thank you, teacher, for making my child get good marks," so I was like, "Okay, it's okay. It was all worth it in the end."
Very good. Thank you, Sasmita. Okay, now we go to Mr. Tanvi.
Okay, dari saya ucapkan tanya kepada saudara. Sebab bila saya ikuti dari awal, saya dapat mengikuti secara lebih teratur tentang perjalanan persembahan tadi, dan saya memahami daripada apa yang telah disampaikan itu sebaik mungkin. Saya dah ada soalan.
Keep the best for the last.
Yes.
Oh.
Now, please welcome the next presenter, Muhammad Mustafi, to present his presentation. Please welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to all of you, to the respected panels, the cameraman, and to my fellow friends. So, my name is Muhammad Mustafi. survey research about investigating IPG KDRI, Pendidikan Guru Kampus Datuk Raja Ismail, PISMP, June 2018, intake test students' motivation to learn English literature. And it was supervised by Dr. Muhammad Dani and Masa. So these are the table of contents. So it all started when there was a young man. There was a young man having a cup of coffee, and then he was young and he's still learning some things. His name was Muhammad Mustaqim, and suddenly when he tried to settle his things, his assignments, his proposal, he found out there was something from the Ministry of Education saying that they encourage the students nowadays, or people's learners nowadays, to have these skills and abilities to enjoy the experience of reading literature, understand and respond to the text. So, in any types of exploration of areas of human concerns, because literature is basically telling all things about human in a very beautiful way. And we take in the section of short story, novel, poetry, and drama. So we are all filled with the literature around us, and it is, but we just not recognize it very well. And then the researcher was also looking for the definitions of literature. He wants to understand what really is literature itself. So he found out from Bloomfield, 1986, quite old, wasn't it? Because literature is something that is very old. Old people who have old souls only look about these things. And it is found that literature as a resource in the English as second language classroom is quite useless. Why? It is quite useless to the learners of the language. So it may say that the first user of the language itself also having this problem because of the possession of necessary linguistic and literary competency to handle the text. We can say that not all of us are able to handle the text very well, including me. So that is why it is useless, because they need to have at least a very good or excellent level of linguistics as well as the literary competency to handle the text that we read. That's why it will not be that much. And then he also found the addition from Carter and Long about the exposition or introduction about culture, which culture also develops or contribute to the development and understanding of the knowledge relating to literature. So this is why if the person has insufficient cultural knowledge, if the knowledge is not enough, then it will contribute to the poor comprehension of the text as well. And these predicaments will also bring different perception towards their motivation to learn English literature. And from that, the researcher, that man, think or take one problem out of all problems that happens in his life, which is he and his friends had to learn literature for at least 7 times during the program. Roughly, or can say accurately 7 times during the program. So I read literature is a subject or course that is provided for tertiary major in IPG to learn. They need to learn this for 7 times with the addition of their assigned minor course. We were assigned, we were obligated to learn and take minor course E literature, which is specified for literature. And then from that, he had this feeling and he had this purpose to further his study about all of these things that he found down from the cup of coffee, which is to investigate the motivation of one training teacher group with special major at Alphabetic to learn English literature. So, the research questions and objectives, there are two research questions and objectives. The first one is how PISMP June, so classic story. How PISMP June 2018 intake students predominantly extrinsically or intrinsically motivated to learn English literature, which intertwines with the objectives to study if PISMP June 2018 intake students predominantly extrinsically or intrinsically motivated to learn English literature. And then the second one is there any difference between male and female PISMP June 2018 intake students' motivation to learn English literature, with the objective of to study the difference between male and female PISMP June 2018 intake students' motivation to learn English literature. And as we can see here, the researcher thinks that from this objective and everything that he learned, absorbed the knowledge from the lecture that he learned about the research. So he thinks that this question objective is mostly, he can use descriptive analysis to answer this question. And for the second one, he can use differential analysis, specifically t-test, to answer this question. And the next one is the significance of study. This research will benefit lots of people actually, and the researcher thinks that it will help students, teachers and learners, administrators, and the researchers. So in terms of the students, he thinks that it will benefit to the students who are wondering on the information about English literature in a certain group of learners. For example, I can see that students right here, they want to think about if they want to know any information about English literature. Anything. One thing here is the motivation of learners to learn English literature. And then for the teachers and lecturers, they will be informed on the motivation level of teacher trainees. They teach a lot, but they do not know if their students actually are motivated, they want to learn or not the subject. So from this research at least, they will know a bit of the motivation level of teacher trainees in one group. And they can also make some teaching adjustments. They can improve the teaching approaches or methods, or they can at least have another discovery of how to make these learners think that literature is actually very impactful in their life. And also the administrators, because these are teacher trainings, they learn about literature. So administrators can also look or view about the progress of these learners if the implementation is actually effective or not. And the last one is the researchers, ardent researchers. Ardent means that person who really wants to have the interest in that thing, they can do this or they can refer this as a resource. And there are three related class researchers that were taken close view by the researcher. So there are three. First one, these two have similarities, which are they look on the learner's comprehension, interest, and motivation to learn literature using the readers created. And their samples were secondary school students. And the second one is about the motivation to learn English literature among ESL teaching. So this is most probably related to teacher training as well. 25%, 25%, 50% of urban rural that are used to complete this study. Because, to be honest, Frank, there is limited resources when I try to finish this study. As I said, this study is only for people with more life. And the research design is quantitative research, descriptive and information analysis. I use simple random sampling and certified random sampling. And my population is 100. Population of PISMP June 2018 as a student, my batch. And I took only 80 samples based on Haji and Morgan sampling calculation. And the next one is the research instrument. The concept is on motivation in learning institution, astrically or intrinsically by Google Form online. And the validity was validated by my supervisor, and it supports with the reliability of high value of complex alpha reliability. Alpha equals to 0.888 of 10% sample. 10% sample is 10% out of 100, meaning 10 people sample of pilot study that I used to test this reliability. Its reliability. And then we go to the instrument. 10 items of extrinsic, 10 items for intrinsic, total of 20, ignoring the demography, and it was adapted by the source. Motivation in literary motivation. And then this is the operational framework, research procedures, data collection and analysis. So these are all the procedures. Focus on this one, data collection here, survey from impact, and did the pilot study, collected the data, no fail or no need to recollect, and it was analyzed using IBM SPSS for sure. And the procedure is only two, descriptive and inferential. Descriptive for section B and C, and inferential for reliability test, reliability test, to look on the differences of the gender. Significant value of 0.05, nullity as well. So we look on the analysis. First one is on the demography, gender, 19 male, 61 female, total of 80, so the percentage is around 1/5. And then the next one is unit analysis. So we can see here TESA4 has the lowest people to answer my survey because they have like 30 people and has the lowest percentage, 16.2. And the next one is grade analysis. You can say that all of us or most of us are very well or very intellect in literature because there are no more people, there are no persons achieving C to B, D to C or E. There are most of them just on this level of B plus to A plus. Okay, that is a good achievement for the department. And then the next one is the data findings, which we really focus on. So, as question for number one, to look if these people, these learners are predominantly extrinsic or intrinsic to learn English literature. So, this man right here assumed that PISMP June 2018, these students are predominantly extrinsically motivated to learn English literature. But as the findings show, we can see here the mean for extrinsic is 3.634 and the mean for intrinsic is 4.408. And from that, we know that this one is higher, which is as intrinsic motivation is more dominant. So the hypothesis that is made by the researcher was rejected. And then the next one, the next finding, to answer question number 2, if is there any difference between male and female in terms of motivation? So the researcher assumed that there is difference. And he divided into those two sections of motivation. First one is intrinsic, and he saw that the significant value was 0.007, which is lower than 0.05, means that it has no difference. It has difference. Shows difference. Because 0.007 is lower than the alpha value 0.05. So it has difference. On the other hand, you look on the intrinsic motivation, which he assumed to be the most, which he assumed to have the differences as well. The result shows that the significant value is rather higher than the alpha value, which is 0.761. So the thing, if the hypothesis is accepted, it is accepted. It is accepted because there is a difference in terms of motivation in the gender, which is the recent one, extrinsic motivation. So the implications of the findings. First one is the researcher himself. He thinks that these findings are valuable and functional. He can say that this research or this title in the literature field is only conducted by himself. I mean, if we were to ask, oh, is there a person that do research about literature? Yes, only one, this guy. Only one person in this IPT, this man. This man. And the researcher also have learned a lot about English literature. Evidently, he knows a lot about literature, but he doesn't know if it is evidently related with the subject. So now we know that the realization of the work that sometimes there are also certain things that make people to have this eagerness to learn English literature. So it changes his views, certain views and perspectives. And then to the lecturer, implications to the lecturer, they can found that they can improve or anything related to approaches to teach and build motivation in a subject. So instead of just teaching, they also need to focus on the students' motivation. So from that, they can teach us at the same time build the motivation of the students to learn this subject at least 7 times. And then, because these students have complication and obligation to achieve. They have complication and dilemma to learn, because we cannot say that all people here are able to change themselves to be able to learn and have the interest to learn. They do not like the subject, then that is a complication. And they have obligation, which is to maintain the grade, which shows that even if you do not like something, you need to fulfill something. This is what happened, and this is very accountable thing for a lecturer to maintain and keep on track about the students' motivation to learn the subject. And the last one is about the authorized parties. We can say this is for the higher level. Maybe this research can be a potent utility for the related parties, for example, IPGM, MOE, and school, in terms of curricular implementation and all those things. So IPGM also can look at the effective points if they really manage to instill the interest of English literature recommendations. So these are the 4 divisions of suggestion for people who think literature towards the thought. In the IPG Career Department of Languages and lectures of IPG Career Languages Department, as we discussed before. So it's about the delicacy of teaching literature as to accept every piece of work, any acceptable works that have literature fundamental values are accepted, because we know we do things, we write things based on our thoughts, and it is because people or the readers, they do not understand the real thing about ourselves, so they need to at least have the delicacy of appreciation to that piece of work, because that piece of work is only understandable for the person, the owner himself, because they have the right thing to say that this work is rejected, this work is not worth. So that somehow demotivated most of the students to learn or to at least have this appreciation about English literature. And then to the students, they need to have this skill to adapt with the things that they do not like, which is the literature, and to adopt things, for example, how to get there, or how to look on ways to have this ability relating to the literature. And then the last one is for the further research. The researchers suggest that if you want to further this research, they can do about the teaching methods, literature teaching methods. For example, just like the past-related researchers about readers' theatre, and then about the learner's readiness to learn English literature if they are really prepared for themselves mentally and physically to learn English literature. And then they can also study about other types of motivation. We have other types of motivation: power-based motivation, discipline-based, competence, affiliation, noticing this down. And then the last one is make this research as a qualitative research. Maybe you can interview around 5 to 10 people about this research, meaning that most of the people will say do not like. And the conclusion is, as mentioned just now, in terms of motivation, intrinsic motivation is more dominant and higher than extrinsic motivation. There is a difference, significant difference in motivation between genders. And English literature is learned for deeper comprehension of the culture. I finished with the one quote: I only go out to get me a fresh appetite for being alone. See, I just read this and thoughts happen in your mind. There are things that only you can think, and if we share them together, we can appreciate it, and we can think that this thought is actually acceptable, and we can agree on it, we can disagree on it, but we still need to have the appreciation now. So with that,
Thank you for your presentation. Ceremony will now continue with the question and answer session. Please welcome Mr. Chan and Mr. Selvi to ask any questions to the presenter.
Okay, first and foremost, well done to Ms. Pakim. From deep in your heart, expressed, but I don't think that this is a good platform to hear.
yeah,
Because this is already been decided in our curriculum.
yes,
We lecturers can't do anything.
yes.
Just like what you have been mentioned, after 7 subjects that you have learned, you don't know the application.
Yes.
Is it applicable to the students after you have gone through so many subjects regarding literature? Okay, I was told that I'm the man in power, that I can listen to your voice,
Yeah.
and I can have the power to change the curriculum. Okay, that is one. Okay, after your presentation, after you are done with your research, okay, what is in your mind that you feel your main achievement after you have done your research? I just want to listen. What's your main achievement?
Oh. Okay. Thank you you for my questions. Well, I assume there's two questions. It's not that I projected my part on this or I want to complain some things. It's just that yes, we cannot change things and lecturers do their job, but this research shows or gives evidence to the results of all the things that we do now. And if you were to ask if it is applicable, of course it is, because like I said, literature is around us, and we apply it even if we don't intend to apply it. And I will ask about the main achievement about doing this research, right? So the main achievement was it gives different perspective for me to think that all of people mostly do not like literature, and they face these subjects around 7 times just for the sake of the grades. As you can see through the findings for research question number 1, these learners who actually have this extrinsic motivation to learn. They, based on the items, it was related about the culture. So they learn literature to learn about the culture. They learn literature to learn about, because they want to. So from the results shown, it changes my perspective in general view of the literature itself.
Saya kita pegang pihak satu yang sebab bila dia bercerita tentang literature bahasa Inggeris ni, memanglah dia bukan satu subjek yang saya dapati dan memang subjek yang agak memang bukan mencabar kepada pelajar, begitu juga kepada pesarah yang mengajar. Jadi saya dapat merasakan apa yang diluahkan. Saya tidak ada apa-apa soalan nak ditanya sebab dia melibatkan jabatan. Itu bahasa besar.
I will be at the end of the presentation area. Our presentation session this morning will now end. Congratulations to all presenters who have successfully presented and studied today. It is hoped that all participating gain various input today, including constructive comments and suggestions for improvement and refinement of their research report. I would like to thank the panel of assessors, lecturers, teacher trainees of Activity Center, Ismail, and fellow audience who were willing to attend the seminar today. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi
Okay, all the presenters and
Switch off that one first.
wabarakatuh.